What's going on? It's Michael, and today I wanted to talk to you about a fairly well-known concept that you can leverage to start actually seeing real tangible change in your life. Ready? Here we go. So, the first thing that most people get wrong when it comes to trying to manifest, when it comes to creating new things, is that they don't create space for the thing that they want. And it's like, here's the thing, right? If I have a line of books. Here's a really good example, right? If I've got a line of books and these are on a bookshelf and I'm trying to fit another book and the bookshelf is only this wide and these books are all here, obviously I'm not going to be able to fit that book on the bookshelf. And I know that's a crude example, but I think it's something that's so prevalent to us today. We say we want all these things and we go after them, we visualize, we affirm, but we don't actually cultivate the space for these things to exist in our lives. And so when it comes to cultivating space, what does that translate into? Well, a couple things that really equivalent to creating space for something is simply living really with the mindfulness of that thing being present, right? So like a lot of the times if we're wanting something, whether it's a relationship, whether it's a promotion, whatever, we become radically obsessed with the thing itself, right? We become radically obsessed with the concept of the thing. We don't really take the time to actually sit and say, okay, this thing being in my life, how does my life actually look, right? So for me, whenever in the past I've wanted relationships or relationships specifically, one thing that I've done is really begin to live as though the relationship already exists. So like I'll subconsciously program myself to sleep on one side of the bed, right? Because there's somebody else on the other side. And I know it sounds crazy at first, but it's a very small act that seems to translate on massive levels, right? If I can create space for something, if I can genuinely create space, I can actually allow that thing to exist in my life without a bunch of constraints and stipulations existing around it, okay? So a lot of the times we want something, but we're not in a place where we're ready to hold space for that thing, ready to have or experience that thing. And as a result, we end up inadvertently pushing that thing back out of our lives, right? It's a push-pull thing here. It's not a creating from nothing. It's a push-pull revelation rather than creation, destruction, right? So you can attract something into your life, but if you aren't prepared to hold space for that and all that it entails, it will just as quickly leave, right? So this is why we want to continue to come back to this understanding that it's never about the things. It's about the feelings, it's about the tonalities, it's about the shades of the experience that we want to have, right? Because if we can begin to focus there, we can begin to actually say, okay, well, here's the thing. I know that I want this thing, right? This job, this relationship, this career. And in order for me to have that successfully and to flourish with it, I have to be able to approach it in such a way that it's not secondary to everything else that's going on. It's not some side note, right? It's something that I'm cultivating and holding space for on a regular, consistent basis, right? It's not something that I treat as accompanying to my life, but rather a main factor in it, okay? And it's important not to feel bad if you're not able to cultivate space, but this is a big part of this journey. Like this journey is more about responsibility, self-sufficiency than it is about anything else, right? Because it's like you might want $1 million, but you might not be ready for $1 million. And the way you know if you're ready or not is really looking at how you're handling the money you have now, right? If I'm not actively making space for the things that I want and cultivating space for that, there's no room for those things to enter into my lives, right? And if there's no room for that thing to enter into my life, it might show up, but then it might go away again, right? Like the question here we have to ask ourselves is, are we embodying the state of consciousness that brings the thing into our life and then allows us to maintain it? This is where we constantly want to come back to. It's not about, can I get the thing? It's about, am I ready to manifest the thing and maintain it? Because what's the point of manifesting if there's no maintaining, right? We want to create, we want to expand, we want to grow, we want to enlarge ourselves seemingly, right? If I cannot hold space for something or someone, right, it's impossible for me to experience a new evolution, a new level, a new ascension in my life. The most important thing that you can do while you are waiting for your manifestation is holding space, and not holding space in anxiety, not holding space in nervousness, not holding space in over emotional giddiness, holding space with neutrality and non-attachment. Imagine how well you would not only handle things, but actually allow them to be brought into your life if we could hold on to them without attachment while embodying the state that continues to bring them into our lives. This is where this gets really fun. It gets really amazing because all of a sudden, I'm not doing all these techniques to try and get a thing. What I'm really doing is becoming a different person so that in the process of that becoming, the thing shows up. How amazing is that, right? So the one thing, well, there's a lot of things, but one of the biggest things that you can do to really encourage the speed of your manifestation, and not just the speed of it, but as it comes to you, ensuring that it stays with you, is practicing the art of cultivating space, right? We're not filling up everything. We're not cluttering. We're not hyper stacking. We're actually desimplifying. We're deeper aligning, right? We're really figuring out what is the desire of this individuality. What is the alignment? What is the path, the purpose, right? Because at the end of the day, your desires, my desires, they're not going to be the same. And that's 100% okay. And if you haven't got to the place yet where where your desires are your own and they're not other people's, I advise you to go there first, right? But when you figured out what you really want, one of the best things that you can do is hold space for that thing, right? And so another way to hold space is to simply engage the concept mentally and in our nervous system without being overly attached to it, right? Can I engage a concept? Can I engage a scenario and imagining and enjoy it without being attached to it, right? That is another aspect of holding space, okay? So as we begin to dive deeper and deeper into the process of getting everything that we want through the understanding that we are everything that we could ever want to be, we understand here that I must make space for the things that are wanted. I must make space for who I want to be, for what I want to have, for what I want to experience. Because if I am constantly crowding my experience with everything that is opposite or not in alignment with what I want, it will be impossible for everything to come into my experience in a way that is smooth and easy, right? We're not into creating massive chaotic eruptions here. We don't want to do that. If you're a person that has those cycles, we want to end those. We don't want to be about that, right? We want to carefully and consciously cultivate space and make room for the things that we want to sit with us and stay with us. Thank you for hanging out with me on today's video. If you liked it, enjoy, comment, subscribe, do your thing. I love watching you. I love seeing you. I love talking to you. I love hanging out. I love growing. This community is awesome. You are amazing. And I'm looking forward to talking to you soon.